Yo guys, welcome back to the first episode of Premier League Talk that I've done since the World Cup. Obviously I missed a few games before, game weeks before, but here we are, we're back with Premier League Talk, and you know the drill. Basically we just run through the results. We're going to pick out a few to talk about. Ones that I want to talk about today, obviously the Manchester derby, I want to talk about the North London derby, and I also want to talk about Chelsea and Mudryk. So we'll start with running through the results. We'll start with Friday. Villa beat Leeds 2-1. Leon Bailey scoring a goal there. Bamford getting one in the final minutes, but it was a bit too late. What a performance from Villa. Emery seems to have really turned them around in a way. Got them firing again, which is great to see because I do like Emery. It didn't work out for him with us at Arsenal, but he's a good manager. Anyway, we move on to Saturday. Now, obviously, Manchester derby, United beat City 2-1, but we'll come back to that later. Brighton wallop Liverpool 3-0. Liverpool are in deep trouble, I can't lie. Klopp, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him walk away in the next few days because seriously, they're in big trouble. I mean, they just got a very old squad and they need a midfielder. They really do. It shows. They desperately need a midfielder, and it doesn't seem like there's any action really going on at Liverpool at the moment. So to get a midfielder in for them in this month would be a massive priority if I were them. But FSG, we'll see what they do. The weird owners, we'll see what happens. Brighton thumped Liverpool 3-0. Everton, Southampton came from 2-1 down, came from 1-0 down to beat Everton 2-1. Ward-Prowse scoring his 16th Premier League free kick. Unbelievable. He is a master at set pieces. So they go level on points with Everton now. They're the bottom two, but Southampton are now only 1 point away from escaping the relegation zone, which is great for them. Forest won the Midlands derby. They beat Leicester 2-0 at City Ground. Brennan Johnson getting two. Harvey Barnes missed a few sitters in that game, so he must be ruining that a bit, can't lie. But fair play to Forest. Wolves then piled the woes on West Ham in another relegation battle. Wolves managed to escape the relegation zone, and West Ham dropped down into the relegation zone into 18th. They're in the fight as well. I think David Moyes has got a huge job in his hands. They've had a massive fall off since last season. It'll be interesting to see who goes down. The relegation battle is one that I'm seriously keeping my eye on, and I think you should too because it is going to be mental this year. And finally, finished Saturday off, Brentford beat Bournemouth 2-0. Pretty standard. Sunday, Chelsea managed to turn their fortunes around. They beat Palace 1-0 thanks to a Kai Havertz goal. We'll get on to that later. Newcastle leave it very late for Alexander Isak to come up with a header in the last few minutes to beat Fulham 1-0. Mitrovic had a penalty disallowed, which was a bit dodgy, but Newcastle jumped back into third over Man United. Level on points though, only 1 point behind City, but 9 points off Arsenal now, who beat Spurs 2-0 in the North London derby, and what was a pretty convincing result, but we'll come back to that again later. So actually, we'll start with Chelsea. Obviously, we know yesterday it was announced that Arsenal were in advanced talks with Shakhtar. They had a deal done to sign Mudryk, and then it comes out last night at around 10 o'clock that Chelsea have agreed a deal worth £100 million, 5 more than Arsenal winners pay, which was adding up to around 95 million. For Mudryk. So Mudryk flew to London last night, signed a contract, did a medical, whatever. Turns up at Stamford Bridge today. He looked pretty... he didn't look the happiest bloke, I can't lie. But luck's your luck. He signed a 7-year deal worth 200 grand a week. Chelsea have Mudryk now. But one of the hijacks, you have to say, Mudryk was frothing for a move to Arsenal. He was all over it, Instagram, Snapchats, Twitters. It was ridiculous. But he's now a Chelsea player, so there we go. And they managed to turn their fortunes around. Poss has been going through a real tough time. So to get a win against Palace, I know it was at home and it's early Palace, but still, it's just good to build that winning momentum, if you get what I mean. And it should help Chelsea in this season because they have really struggled in what has been a bit of a turmoil for them. So hopefully for them, this can be the start of a run of good results. I don't know. We'll then move on to the North London derby. Now, obviously, Spurs lost to Arsenal in what was a pretty dominant performance from Arsenal, who go 8 points clear at the top of the league. They play Man United at home next week. But yeah, again, a thoroughly dominant performance from Arsenal. That first half was just absolutely ridiculous. never watched a derby, let alone a North London derby, where one team has just dominated the other like so badly in the first half. Second half, Spurs did definitely grow back into it. And it was quite a nerve-wracking time, especially for me as an Arsenal fan. When Kulusevski's curling those balls in, I just get very nervous. But you know what? We had our moments in the second half as well. At the end of the game, Ramsdale getting kicked by a fan, I think that needs to be dealt with. That fan should receive a lifetime ban, just by the law of the game now. I think they changed it after last year. It's just hooliganism at its finest. Shouldn't happen in football anymore. But Arsenal 8 points clear. I'm not going to say we're going to win the league yet, because obviously we've still got to play Man United at home, we've got Chelsea at home, we've got to go to Manchester City, we've got to go to Liverpool, we've also got to play City at home. So there are a few big fixtures. But if we can beat Man United at home next week, that would be a great stepping stone, great result for us. So we look forward to next week, but we'll see what happens. City have to play Tottenham midweek, and Tottenham, really, they look dismal at the moment. Conte has got a huge problem on his hands. I know they beat Palace 4-0 midweek, but it's really not looking good for them. They were just dire in the first half. It's ironic as it's Eric Dyer's birthday today, but they were shocking, properly bad. And in the second half, they looked like it was only really Kane who could play a few, who was finding passes. Kulusevski put balls into the box, but no one got on the end of them, and a few of them were a bit wayward. But yeah, Spurs got a real problem in their hands. I can't see them finishing top four, so it'll probably have to be Europa League for them. We move on now to the big game, and the controversial game of the week was the Manchester derby. Now, Man United came from 1-0 down to beat City 2-1 at Old Trafford. Grealish scored a header, perfectly fair goal, and Rashford's winner was a perfectly fair goal. But the goal I want to talk about is Fernandes' equaliser. How that was not designated as interfering with play by Rashford, I'm not sure. He's literally standing over the ball. It blows my mind. It really does. As a defender, you must be thinking in that situation, because Rashford is looking at Fernandes while standing over the ball. You must be thinking, oh, he's going to touch it here and he's going to pass it to Fernandes. So you back off a bit, and you can see Ederson is like standing up, like thinking he's offside, he's not going to shoot, no point. So he's clearly interfering with play. Fernandes comes through, taps it in. Ederson wasn't going to do anything from that point, because he already thought, you know what, screw it, like he's not going to touch it, so no point. It was just a very, very weird decision. I don't really get what officials are doing nowadays, but it is what it is. It is what it is. I'm not sure what happened, but you know what, United probably, I'd say a 1-1 draw was probably a fair reflection of the game. United won, and they go 1 point behind City now. Really in the title race, although I say that, they're now 9 points behind Arsenal, which a win at the Emirates next week for United would be huge for them. So next weekend, Arsenal vs Man United, that is going to be one hell of a game. We will see what happens there. But seriously, it was a great, great weekend of football, and United might find themselves in a title race. You never know. You never know. Ten Hag seriously seems to have got a grip of that squad, turned it around. He's created a new culture at Man United. And you have to say that quote that you said at the start of the season where, I respect Liverpool and City for what they've done, but era's come to an end. It's coming true. I can see this being the start of something new, to quote the famous High School Musical line. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Anyway, great week of Premier League football. We've got another really interesting week. Some huge fixtures coming up. Tottenham City, United Arsenal, Liverpool Chelsea on Saturday. It's going to be crazy. Don't forget to check out my TikTok. I'm uploading that constantly, so keep an eye on that. This has been the first Premier League talk back from the World Cup, guys. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon. See ya.